I've hit the button. I'll let you know when it goes live, and we're right. Thank you.
Thanks, Leah. Welcome to this meeting of the Pyrenees Shire Council. Councillors will today deliberate and decide on a range of matters relevant to the work of council in its communities and for the welfare of the people of the Pyrenees Shire. As the meeting chair, I give my consent for this ordinary council meeting to be streamed live, recorded and published online. Anyone who is invited to read out a question or make a submission will be recorded, and their voice, image and comments will form part of that live stream and recording. The chair and or the CEO have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed appropriate. That may include where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. The live stream will stop prior to the closed section of the meeting and will recommence for the conclusion of the meeting. The public is able to view this live stream via our website at www.pyrenees.vic.gov.au. Should technical issues prevent the continuation of the live stream, the meeting will continue as long as a quorum can be maintained, and, where possible, a recording of the meeting will be published on Council's website. Where a quorum cannot be maintained, the meeting will be adjourned until the issue is resolved, or the meeting postponed to another time and date in accordance with Council's governance rules. We acknowledge the people past and present of the Wadawurrung, Jar Jar Wurrung, Eastern Maar and Watchbullock tribes, whose land forms the Pyrenees Shire. We pay our respect to the customs, traditions and stewardship of the land by the elders and people of these tribes on whose land we meet today. We have no apologies, as I understand it. We do have Councillor Ferrari joining us online. We do have one apology, sorry. Douglas Gowan, our Manager of Assets and Infrastructure, is an apology for tonight's meeting. Are there any notice of disclosure of interest by councillors or officers?
Mr. Mayor, I have an interest in item 15.1.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. That's all we noted. I call for a confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting on the 16th of April, the ordinary meeting that was, and the closed meeting of council and a special meeting of council held on the 7th of May 2024. Moved Councillor Easton, seconded Councillor Clark. All those in favour? Thank you, that is carried. Were there any business arising from those minutes, councillors? No. No, if not, we'll move on to the public participation. Members of the community are encouraged to participate in public ordinary council meetings by asking questions or presenting a submission. This can be done by attending in person or by submitting in writing prior to 12 noon on the day of the meeting, online through council's website by mail or hand delivered. If a question or submission is submitted in writing, this will be read by the chair during public participation, stating the person's name and township. Question time will be held first, followed by public submissions. 30 minutes is allowed for the total period of public participation. Time extensions may be allowed at the discretion of the chair, subject to the provisions of the governance rules. A person may ask a maximum of 2 questions at any one meeting. The chair will allocate a maximum of 5 minutes to each person who wishes to address council or ask questions. The chair, councillor or council officer to whom a question is referred may immediately answer the question or take the question on notice for answering at a later date. There will be no discussion or debate with public attendees. However, councillors may ask questions of the attendee for clarification. So at this stage, I would ask the gallery if there are any questions that you wish to put before council. Mr. Kirsnovs. Yeah.
Yeah, George Kirsnovs.
Just go to the speaker if you wouldn't mind, please, George.
Yeah, George Kirsnovs, a local citizen. It has been some time since I have been here. My question is, in whatever reviews take place as a result of the bushfires that unfortunately we've had, will Disaster Recovery Australia be involved in that review? My reason for asking the question is that today I was very privileged to go to their base camp at Ararat, and perhaps you've been there, so you know what I'm talking about. And talking with some of those people, terrific. They're volunteers, most of them ex-military. They're doing it as much for themselves as they are for the communities they work with. And all I can say is the interaction I had with Disaster Recovery Australia, they're a fantastic group. I understand the federal government, listening to Murray Watt, the relevant minister not that long ago, said, yes, they're recognised as very important by the Commonwealth Government, and the Commonwealth Government is giving them some financial support. So we also have given them some financial support, and I talk about it from the Rotary Club point of view and community. But it was an absolute privilege. They are magnificent young people.
Thank you for that. Mr. CEO, you wish to respond?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Kirsnovs, for those comments. Certainly, Disaster Recovery Australia are a fantastic group, fantastic organisation. They're mostly ex-military people who have volunteered their time to assist in communities that have been impacted by disasters, and they're very welcome here in Pyrenees, and they've certainly been doing some work in our communities and in communities, shires adjoining ours in Ararat and Northern Grampians. And I know when I was speaking with them recently, they were taking registrations of interest from members of the public who'd been impacted that might be able to, that might be in need of some assistance. And that's very welcome assistance and support that's needed in our community. So I do appreciate the recognition that you've given them, and in terms of being part of a review, Council has internally undertaken a review of the emergency event that occurred, and our findings from that review have been fed into a broader review involving all the other agencies that were involved in that emergency event. That was undertaken, I think it was last week, certainly within the last few days. Now, whether DRA were part of that, I'm unsure. They certainly weren't part of our internal review, but they may have been part of the broader group. But I can take on board your commendation and the important role that they play in the recovery, and I can certainly feed that through to the relevant emergency services to support your advice. Thanks.
Any further questions from the gallery? Well, thank you very much for your attendance this evening. We'll move on to business now, and items for noting. Item 9.1 is the asset and development services. Somebody prepared to move that they be received? Move Councillor Keogh, seconded Councillor Eason.
So is that in respect of the
Asset and development.
electric?
Yeah, sorry. It was in relation to the electric vehicle charging station usage report from the 23rd of October till the 24th of March. Councillors, anybody wish to speak to this? No? Yeah, Councillor Keogh moved, and Councillor Eason second. Put the recommendation, those in favour, carried. 9.3.
You skipped too many pages.
Of course I have.
The next one. This one here.
9.2.1, customer requests, April 2024. Somebody prepared to move? Councillor Clark, second Councillor Eason. Any comments, councillors? Put the motion. Those in favour? It's carried. Good, I have them all tagged too. Goodness. 9.2.2, the March 2024 quarterly financial report. Move Councillor Clark, seconded Councillor Ferrari. Any comments, Councillor Clark?
Just a comment and a couple of questions for Ms. Bramwell, if I could, please. Mr. Mayor, firstly, good to see that our cash position's improved, that we've got some grant recoveries coming in the rate and some rate recoveries as well. 3 questions, please, if I could, Ms. Bramwell. Firstly, when I looked at page 18 of the financial report talking about capital expenditure, it looks like we're a little bit behind on a few things, the road space, like resheets and that kind of thing. Are you able to give us an update now, we're a couple more months in, how we're tracking with those, please?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Clark. I understand that the resheets and the reseals programme is proceeding as scheduled, but some of the capital projects, in particular the LRCIP, is in year 1 of each 2-year project, and so some of that might be behind, and anything that isn't completed by the end of this year we can carry forward to next year. The Rose to Recovery funding, that will be all spent and has all been scheduled for this year because it's the last year of this particular round of that funding. And I think the biggest issue in the LRCIP is the drainage project, and that may be slightly delayed, but that may contribute to the being slightly behind in the expenditure. Is there any?
Thank you, and thank you for anticipating my next question. And just a final one, bridges, how are we tracking with our bridge spending, please?
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I understand that there is a delay in the Back Raglan Road Bridge. That's been deferred to next year, so won't be completed this year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Thanks, Councillor Clark. All those in favour of the report, thank you. 9.2.3, Council Plan Progress Report. Once again, councillors, we have a mover, Councillor Eason, seconded Councillor Clark. Any questions at all? No, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? That is carried. 9.3.1, CEO leave. Councillor Eason's moved, Councillor Keogh second. Councillor Eason.
I wish to see a happy holiday.
Thank you. I'm sure he's well and truly earned it in these recent times. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? That is carried. 10, item 10.1, the councillor activity reports. Move Councillor Keogh, second Councillor Eason. Councillor Keogh.
Mr. Mayor, I just needed to make one change to mine, which Kathy's already got, so it'll be as written.
Thank you. Put the motion. Those in favour? It's carried. Item 11, Assembly of Councillors. Move Councillor Clark, seconded Councillor Eason. Any comments? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? It's carried. Right, moving on to items for decision. Item 12.1, Asset Development Services. Planning permit application decision PA 23070 Brumbies Lane, Snake Valley. Ms. Blackwell, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to consider planning permit application for land at Brumbies Lane in Snake Valley. The planning permit application is for the subdivision of the land into 2 lots. The subject land is located on the northeastern intersection of Brumbies Lane and Davies Court The land is irregular in shape and relatively flat and contains a watercourse which runs across the entire property from north to south. The site is currently vacant and does not have any notable vegetation. The site is zoned rural living and affected by a bushfire management overlay. The lots would be 2 hectares and 3.3 hectares respectively. A bushfire management plan has been prepared as part of the application, which notes indicative development envelopes and defendable space for each lot. 2 4.5 metre wide vehicle crossover access points are proposed to access each lane to Brumby's Lane, lot to Brumby's Lane. A land capability assessment has been prepared and submitted, and indicative effluent areas have also been provided for the proposed lots. Council received 1 objection in response to advertising. The key issues raised were the potential impacts to the natural watercourse which runs through the lots, the subject site, and noting that the subject site and surrounding land have flooded in the past, concerns about illegal buildings on the subject land, and concerns about wastewater management for the future development on the land. In terms of strategic justification, the subdivision is supported by the purpose of the zone, which is to provide for residential use in a rural environment, and to encourage use and development of land based on comprehensive and sustainable land management practices and infrastructure. The subdivision of the land into 2 lots is an appropriate response to the site, adjoining properties and the surrounding neighbourhood character. It's also considered to be an appropriate transitionary response to development to the south of the Snake Valley Township. The watercourse and low-lying land that runs through the site from Mag Dam and Nuns Road through to Davies Court, as raised in the single objection received, is subject to some seasonal inundation. The area, however, has not been identified as being subject to flooding in any recent flood study, and is not located in a flood or land subject to inundation overlay. Due to the larger lot sizes above 2 hectares in accordance with the provisions of the zone, and as demonstrated, both lots have a suitable area of land adjoining to Brumby's Lane that can accommodate the development of dwellings outside of the watercourse. The bushfire management plan has been prepared and submitted to address the requirements of the CFA, and the bushfire management plan shows 15 metres of defendable space for each indicative development area. It's recommended that council issue a notice of decision to grant a planning permit for the proposal subject to conditions. This includes a number of standard conditions for subdivision, including some minor changes to the bushfire management plan to address CFA requirements in relation to water supply. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Blackwell. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Moved Councillor Clark, seconded Councillor Eason. Councillor Clark, you wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a question first, please, Ms Buckle. Just in terms of the map that we've got shows the hatched area, which is certainly significant for putting a property and plenty of room, obviously, for a septic tank, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Mr Mayor, I popped down and had a look at this yesterday just to have a quick drive past, as you always do in these situations. It's very logical. It's right on the edge of town. There's some other really nice houses around it. I hope it gets subdivided. I hope it gets sold. And I hope we get a couple of new houses there in a couple of years. It'd be terrific.
Thank you. Further comments, councillors? Right. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? That is carried. Item 12.1.2, Beaufort Memorial Park mortar guns reinstallation. Once again, Ms Blackwell, thank you.
Okay, it's requested that council consider this report for a decision. The report seeks council endorsement to reinstate the 2 water guns back into their original location at the cenotaph in the Beaufort Memorial Park. In 2018, the water guns were removed as part of a cenotaph restoration project. The guns were relocated to the Beaufort RSL Hall at this time. We've received a request from the Beaufort RSL asking that the mortar guns be reinstated to their original location at the entrance to the cenotaph. Council officers have had discussions with the RSL that a concrete base would be appropriate for the installation of the mortar artillery pieces, and this may cost in the order of $3,000. Officers recommend that council endorse the reinstatement of the mortar guns at the entrance of the cenotaph as requested by the RSL, and if council finds it appropriate, it could also allocate some funds as part of the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Once again, moved Councillor Easton, seconded Councillor Ferrari. You wish to speak? Thanks, Mr. Councillor Easton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It'll be good to see the guns back in place. That returns the cenotaph to its original state, and it's good to have it finished.
Councillor Ferrari, you wish to comment on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Easton's point there that it'd be good to see them back in place. They've been there for as long as I can remember, and I think it'll just really highlight the good work that the RSL and the community do to make these things happen and to raise the money, and I think it'll also just enhance the restoration works and the memorial park there and the cenotaph. So really glad to see them back in place.
Thank you, Councillor Ferrari. I'd have to endorse those remarks. That is one of the highlights, I believe, of the town of Beaufort is the memorial gardens there. It's a wonderful memorial area to the services that were placed by those that have gone before us. Councillor Keogh.
I know that we also recommended perhaps putting some money towards helping support that too. So we'd be very happy to support that as well, to be able to make sure that project's completed in a timely and appropriate manner.
Yeah, thank you. No further discussion. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Now, item 12.1.3, planning and development update. Once again, Ms. Blackwell, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's requested that council consider this report for a decision. The report was prepared to give a summary of the activities of the Planning and Development Department from January to March this year. We draw attention to 3 items in the report. This includes the Bushfire Planning Support Service. A service is being prepared by the team to support property owners impacted by the recent fires with the rebuild process. The service will provide specialised advice to help navigate the planning permit application requirements. In order to support the local community, it's recommended that any planning fees associated with rebuilding as a result of the bushfires be waived. The planning team also have an up-and-coming compulsory conference at BCAT for the planning permit application for High Street in Beaufort, which was considered by council in November last year. The compulsory conference is scheduled for early next month on the 6th of June. And I'll also draw your attention to the Environmental Health Performance Report, which is appended to the agenda also. In relation to the Planning and Development Report, officers recommend that council agrees to the waiving of all planning fees associated with the Bay and Dean bushfire rebuild. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a recommendation, councillors. Moved Councillor Clark, seconded Councillor Keogh. No discussion, councillors. I thank you for the in detail report there, Ms. Blackwell. Thank you very much. And I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? It's carried. 12.1.4 statutory planning in the VCAT delegation. Mr. Nolan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Ms. Blackwell just outlined, there is a VCAT matter that is to be determined, and the purpose of this report is for council to delegate to a council officer attending the compulsory conference at the VCAT tribunal for planning permit application P23031 relating to land at 6163 High Street, Beaufort. Councillors made a determination on this matter and determined to issue a notice of decision to grant a permit. One of the objectors has taken the matter to VCAT, and that is subject to a compulsory conference and a hearing if required. And part of the purpose, Mr. Mayor and councillors, is to enable the planning officer that represents council's interest at the hearing and at the conference to be able to negotiate on council's behalf in respect of conditions and matters relating to the application, so that the matter is able to be settled at the hearing or at the compulsory conference. So ordinarily there's a compulsory conference to start with to determine if the matters can be resolved. If they can't be resolved, then it goes to a full hearing. So the recommendation, councillors, is that council agrees that delegation be provided to the senior planning officer to represent council at the VCAT compulsory conference and hearing if required in relation to the planning permit application P23031 with authority to settle on any matter.
We have a recommendation. Move Councillor Easton, seconded Councillor Clark.
No.
No comments. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? 12.2.1, 23-24 community funding program in the community resilience category. Ms. Bramwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report is to seek council's approval to award funding under a community resilience category with regards to community grants. It was recognised that the significant impact that the October-November 2022 flood event had on families and the organisations and groups that provide services. In response, with generous support and funding via the Community Recovery Hubs Grants Programme, a one-off round was created under the Community Grants Programme under the title Community Resilience Grants, a Flood Recovery Initiative. And this utilises state government funding awarded through Emergency Recovery Victoria to support new programmes and projects that assist and empower communities to recover and build resilience to potential future flood impacts. Following assessment and resolution of Council in November 2023, the annual grant programme had a minor amount of funding remaining to support community and tourism events, and this report details applications and recommendations for events to exhaust those funds as well. Applications opened on Thursday the 1st of February and closed Monday the 22nd of April. And the deadline was initially set at the 13th of April, was extended by 35 days due to the Burndean fires. Following a communication and engagement programme, 16 applications were received, collectively requesting $32,058. After the application period closed, a review panel of council officers assessed applications against advertised eligibility guidelines and selection criteria. And an attachment was provided to councillors on the outcome of the process, with applications progressing to this recommendation. The recommendation by officers is to fund all applications. And the officer's recommendation was to award 13 grants under the Community Resilience Programme for a total value of $24,358, and under the remainder of the annual grant programme event category to the value of $7,500 to 3 recipients. Thank you.
Move Councillor Keogh, seconded Councillor Clark.
Can I move?
Might be worthwhile actually reading out the individual ones for the benefit of the community.
Councillor.
Can I move an amendment? May I? Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move an amendment going back to the mortar guns, that we include a $2,000 grant for the concrete for the mortar guns.
Second, councillor. No?
I don't think we can move amendment, we can move a separate motion.
Yeah.
But the motion's been passed, so you can't.
Are you're moving an amendment to
this
the motion that's been put?
Adding to this motion.
Yeah, so
This
yeah,
motion.
so you can add to the motion with the agreements by the mover and the seconder, if you.
Can I
Or you
just have clarification? And do we have more funds in this round of funding to do that?
Ms Brown?
Yeah, that's correct. The fund is undersubscribed.
Oh, yes, I'm very happy to, because I'd like to do that. Yeah.
So rather than an amendment, you're actually amending, you're making a change to the original motion.
Motion, I'm happy to add $2,000 to the RSL
Okay.
in order to move the mortar guns. Are you happy to second that?
So no, I'm not. I think, so there's a couple of things about that. One, this grant is really for events, not for facilities. And it's not proper that we as councils make decisions about those kind of things without some officer work, I would have thought.
And I'm happy not to make that change, I'm just doing the original motion.
Sorry, councillor, but I think you've
Done again.
I'm very happy to ask the officers to come back to us whether some money would assist them, whether we could provide some money.
Would that be separate?
Fine.
Because they're separate
So
items.
just to be clear, Mr Mayor, that are you withdrawing
withdraw.
your
I'll withdraw.
amendment? Okay.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to stick
And for the benefit of our viewers and the gallery, I'd like to read out the grant funding that was issued. Ms Bramwell proposed, sorry. If you would, please. You've done a very quick assumption there were 13, but.
No, that's all right, thank you. I'll read out the all of the grant funding. So it's the under the Community Resilience Programme, there's $2,000 to the Raglan Hall and Recreation Reserve Committee for acquisition of first aid kits, $2,000 to the Pyrenees Community House for their 40th anniversary, $2,000 to the Community House for community bus trips in 2024, $2,000 to the Pyrenees Community House for the Beaufort Town Market, $2,000 to the Pyrenees Arts Council for the Art Tracks High Tea, $958 to Mount Cole Pyrenees Nature Group for a guided forest walk and picnic, $2,000 to the Evoca Friends of the Pool for Let the Season Begin event, $2,000 to the Evoca Friends of the Pool for Swimming to Reconnect Community, $2,000 to the Evoca Riverside Market Inc. for connecting community and First Nations art space to the Evoca Riverside Market, $2,000 to the Beaufort Men's Shed to increase membership, $1,400 to the Barclay Hall and Recreation Reserve for Barclay Outdoors, $2,000 to Advance Evoca for Let's Dance Evoca, $2,000 to Advance Evoca for Christmas Carols Connection. And under the event category, under the annual grant programme, $3,000 to Lake Goldsmith Steam Preservation Association for traffic control, $2,000 to the Flywheel Bar and Cafe for a Beaufort tattoo exhibition, and $2,500 to the Evoca Riverside Market Inc. for market activities to inspire and connect. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll put the recommendation. Oh, sorry.
Actually, sorry. Just one comment I would like to make again. I think it's a fantastic distribution of these funds for resilience projects, as Councillor Clark said. So thank you to all those that were part of that. Thank you to our team who went around the council again to make sure people were aware of that and how to apply for that as well. So I think it's wonderful, and congratulations to all those committees and that we just read out. So it's a really wonderful thing.
Thank you, Councillor Keogh. No further comments, councillors? I'll put the motion. That's carried. Moving along to 12.2.2 loan borrowings for 2023-24. Ms Bramwell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek council approval to borrow $650,000 that was included in this year's budget. In the preparation of the 2023-24 budget, an amount of $1 million was included to offset capital expenditure to ensure that council continue to have sufficient liquidity to operate the business going forward. And the borrowings are essential to ensure the long-term cash flow of the council to be sustainable. Council has progressed to borrow future funds from Treasury Corporation of Victoria, which will provide council with cheaper funds than through the traditional sources of borrowings like banks. And borrowing from the Treasury Corporation of Victoria meets council's procurement requirements without the need to express expressions of interest from other institutions. And it's the officer's recommendation. Oh, I never actually said what it's for. It's for the purchase of land for housing development. Officer recommendation is that council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to seek borrowings from TCB for loan funds totalling $1 million and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to accept the terms and conditions of the loan totalling $1 million, sign and seal the documentation on behalf of council.
We have recommendations moved by Councillor Ferrari, seconded by Councillor Clark. You wish to speak, Councillor Ferrari? No? Councillor Clark?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think, again, just to say this, and I'm very mindful that in this very chamber a few years ago, we were very happy to say that council was debt-free. And we're not debt-free anymore in that sense. We've already had some borrowings, but the importance about this is that we are borrowing for the future of the community in that sense of things. We purchased some land in Burke Street last year with money. We purchased land in Avoca this year. Hopefully at some stage in the near future, we'll actually get a part of the old school site, which is the oval area, which we put in funds for in that sense. And we've already started work in terms of planning on Burke Street. So that's what that money will go to. That money will come back into council in time. But we'll also have more housing, we'll have more people, which is terrific.
Thank you. No further discussion, councillors. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour? Carried. Moving along to item 12.3.1, the Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly. Mr CEO, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek approval for the Mayor and CEO to attend the National General Assembly in Canberra on the 2nd and 5th of July 2024. The National General Assembly is something that's held every year, and Council has had the practice of attending that event, and the Assembly provides an avenue for engaging with the sector on important issues that affect the sector across the nation, and to engage with other tiers of government on issues relevant to local government. It's also an opportunity to advocate to the Commonwealth through the activities of the Australian Local Government Association, which is the national peak body for local government. Some of the issues that are regularly on the agenda include community wellbeing, local economic development, job creation, environmental challenges, climate change, complex social issues, and housing affordability, all of which are relevant to our council, Mr Mayor, and to stay in touch with activities that are affecting the whole sector, and to be able to implement activities at our local level based on advice and findings from the Assembly. So, Mr Mayor, I just put the recommendation that Council supports the participation of the Mayor and CEO to attend the ALGA National General Assembly and Conference on the 2nd to 5th of July.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Move Councillor Clark, seconded Councillor Keogh. No comments, councillors? No. Put the recommendation as carried. Thank you. We move on to item 13, councillor reports and general business. We'll start with you, councillor Keogh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know we all attended many Anzac Day ceremonies, but I was very privileged to be able to attend a beautiful one, a dawn service at Snake Valley. And again, it was a wonderful turnout of residents and a brilliant service that was organised by local resident Bill Baird and the Friends of the RSL there at Snake Valley. They just do an absolutely beautiful job, and it's such a moving ceremony. And many involved. We had some young cadets who gave very moving speech, and also Kay Baird, who gave a beautiful speech there for the ceremony as well. So again, it was just wonderful. I moved through to the close of the day to another, quite a different ceremony, but an incredible community event organised by Helen Kirkpatrick and Debbie Bain over at Stockyard Hill. And there was a fantastic round of two-up played, complete with trophies and everything for the participants. It was just such a beautiful event and a lovely dinner where many community members, not only from that area but from Beaufort as well, two beautiful members in our audience tonight who also participated. But that was held at the Alamata shearing shed there, and again, such a beautiful way to celebrate and a very significant day for us here in Australia, and to remember all those amazing servicemen and women and those who currently protect our way of lifestyle as well. It was just a fabulous day. We also had an incredible Lake Goldsmith Steam Rally, again, another event just held at the start of the month. Again, congratulations again and again. These events are just incredible. They're absolutely outstanding, and I think it really puts us on the map, and I'm incredibly proud that it happens in my area, but just incredibly flabbergasted how much effort that goes into every single one, and how many people just have such a fantastic day out. And we learn so much from these days too, at the history that's brought us to where we are, but it's also just a beautiful way to bring so many people together with similar interests. Also, we had the community cuppa at Stoneleigh last week, as we've already alluded to at this meeting. It was a fantastic turnout. Among issues that were brought up at that night were a number of road issues that we still need to look at, culverts and other areas and classes of roads there, particularly in regards to harvest time. Also strategic roads for fire prevention. Again, we'll be looking at following up on those. Also mobile data concerns was a huge one again. So we'll definitely be liaising with appropriate authorities to make sure that all our areas, that there are no black spots, that we can protect our residents. We will be following up on those, but thanks again to that vibrant and supportive community. The people that turn up there, they really look out for each other in their community. It's a beautiful space to go visit. Finally, I will just on the roads issue again, at the weather changing at the moment, we all know there's foggy mornings, and we've already had some tragedies and some other near misses as well. Please be vigilant on the roads. Also, the weather conditions can affect the condition of roads. So remember, use our car system on the website, or use your little app, your Snap Send and Solve app. But please drive to those conditions and keep yourself and your loved ones safe on the roads. That's all from me.
Thank you, Councillor Cleo. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And just to echo Councillor Cow's comments, it's really lovely to be with your community on Anzac Day. There's no doubt about it. I spent dawn service with the community of Lexington, who just very astutely just tuned into the ABC radio and listened to the dawn service from the memorial, but they gathered around with great respect and then attended the service at Beaufort, which was really good later in the morning. We've continued to get out as councillors. We've been to Landsborough last month and Stoneleigh just last week, as we said, which is really good. My two groups I represent, council on the Central Victorian Greenhouse Alliance, met last week, and again continue to do good work. And the Highland Glen also had their annual meeting in April, in that sense of thing. And again, an organisation is really good for council to support. Very interesting to see there's 2 or 3 ex-council staff working for the Len and going great guns as they did when they were working with us. They're doing great work there as usual. We had a fairly low-key but really important opening of the hub at Lexington. It took us a while to get there, but it is such a magnificent facility. And certainly I didn't envisage last year when we finished it, there was actually going to be the pub hub for the town at the moment, because the pub's not operating and it's providing a really important social service as well as the services it provides to the sporting communities as well at that moment. But the best event ever last month was the Back to Waterloo event, where they had over 80 people in the middle of, there's not much at Waterloo, but they certainly had plenty of people that day. And I hadn't realised it was 10 years since they actually wrote the Waterloo book, and they had the author there talking a little bit about it. And so they certainly worked him hard to see if there was another book in him, but he said this one wasn't one of them in that sense, but it was a great day out. I also attended with the CEO and a few other key staff at a community meeting at Raglan last week, and we had about 40 plus people there who were very passionate and took the opportunity to talk directly to council around things that concern them. Primarily that is the tree removal, but also some of the stuffs around permits and those kind of things. I've been out there, I think, weekly or a bit more, looking with different people and on my own at the clearing we've done. And there's a really significant change to what we're doing today versus what we did on day one. And while clearly we still haven't met the community's expectations, and the community made that absolutely clear to us, I do believe we've made really, really significant progress as council. And the message from the day, and again, the message I'd like to reinforce tonight is, please continue to talk to us about, and we'll continue to tell you what we're doing, but please continue to talk to us about what we're doing at the moment and how we can continue to do that better, because that will help us to continue to do that better. So that's really the important message. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all from me.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Ferrari.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like each of you respectively attended the Anzac Day ceremonies, and it was fantastic turn up at Beaufort. And I must say another thank you to the outdoor staff who had the Memorial Park absolutely looking spotless. In fact, it was noted by the speaker, the president of the RSL, who I've already passed that on, but I'd like to just say again that the park was looking absolutely splendid. So thank you to those outdoor staff and everybody that was involved in that. I thank Councillor Easton and Councillor Keogh for their thoughts on providing some funding to reinstate those guns back at the Memorial Park, and I'm sure that's something we'll all be happy to discuss in the further to pursue some funding in the right forum to reinstate those guns at the Memorial Park. I was really pleased to hear Mr. Kirsanov's thanking Disaster Recovery Victoria. I've seen them out and about, and they've been doing some fantastic work. And while I've been out and about speaking with people that have been affected by the recent fires, they've just got glowing reports of not only disaster recovery, but also Blaze Aid. And while I'm on Blaze Aid, I attended Buanga a couple of Fridays ago, and they had a function there, the community, to thank them. And I thank the Blaze Aid crews and coordinators on behalf of the Pyrenees Shire, because they've predominantly been working in our area, which was significantly affected by the fires. So they've been doing some fantastic work. And of course, it's all volunteer there, which just makes it even more special. Their base camp's at Buanga, so I thank the Buanga community for looking after them and helping them out and doing those little things that makes their stay so much easier. And the rest of the community that go up there and help them out, they cook and do all these different things to make their stay better, so they can get up every day and go out and do the important work they're doing. And I've actually had some crews out here, and one thing I'd really like to say that's amazing, most of them, a lot of them are backpackers, and they've come from all corners of the world. And it was really amazing talking to them. But I think what it really shows that no matter where you come from in the world, we can work together to achieve those great results. And their work has just been outstanding, and they're just great to talk to, and their commitment is unquestionable. So that's about all from me, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ferrari. Councillor Easton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We continue to have our councillor cuppers, which I think are a wonderful exercise for not only the community that comes along, but for us for being there. You get this face-to-face interaction with members of the community, and I don't think you can beat that. I had the joy of being at the Lexington opening for the official opening of the hub with Catherine King and Martha Haylett. It was very interesting to talk to Catherine about how that was part of her patch originally, and she has followed that project from day one, very happily keeping an eye on it, even though it's no longer in her patch. Also attended the Anzac Day services. The Anzac Day dawn service in Avoca, very well attended. The morning service, not so much. Compared to the dawn service. The dawn service is really getting a crowd. But the school children and the girl guides come along at the morning service, and they're the ones that are going to have to continue on the legacy of Anzac Day in the long run. So it's great to see them there as well. And we've been working as a group to get the council budget there and available for people to read. It's out there on public exhibition at the moment. So anyone that wants to see what we're going to do with the money that comes to us, it's there for you to make comment and commit to talk to us if you need to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Easton. Well, I, like all other councillors, attended the briefing both at Landsborough and at the Crossroads. Both were reasonably well attended. Certainly, it never ceases to amaze me when we have our cuppa in Avoca or Beaufort. We might be lucky to get one person turn up, two at the most, but when we go out to the little country communities, we get an audience, which is great. I guess they don't get the opportunity to see staff or councillors as often as those that live in the town where the offices are. But yeah, well done for those people. The Pyrenees Unearthed Wine and Food Festival, I attended down on the bank of the river and had a wonderful afternoon, enjoying the company of people from far afield. It went off really well. It was a lovely day, lovely autumn day, and things were just swimmingly. I didn't partake of the material that makes you swim, but we certainly had some fine food. I did attend the Glenpatrick Recreation Reserve Committee of Management, and surprise, surprise, there were actually 12 people there. So the community of Glenpatrick are really fired up and in behind their little rec reserve. It was sad to note that Colin Wills passed away 2 or 3 months ago. Cole was a great driver for campers that used to come there and stay at Glenpatrick Reserve. It's a popular spot for a lot of people, and sad to see Colin no longer with us, but that's something that none of us can avoid, apparently. Timber Towns, Victoria, we had a general meeting. I was also at the official opening of the community hub at Lexington, and that was a great day. Finally achieved, and it's a great opportunity for the Lexington people to use as a community centre whilst their hotel has fallen over. I know the towns that lose their one pub usually lose their meeting place, so it's great that they're still able to do that. We had a meeting with the Central Highlands Board, both the CEO and myself, which I got brought up to speed with the goings-on in Beaufort of the treatment plant, its introduction. We've had a couple of budget workshops like everyone else. Landsborough's dawn service this year was a stunner. We had at least 150 people there. Would you believe? They come from Stawell and Maryborough, and the piper came down the hill again as the dawn was breaking, playing the bagpipes, and it was really something else. I need to pay respects to Gary and Janine Edwards because they are the complete organisers of that service. They do a great job, and it brought the people together. They feature each year soldiers that went away to the First War, and this year the Slorish families were recognised, and one of the 4 brothers that went away to war didn't return, and another brother signed up for the Second World War as well. He joined up as a 17-year-old to go to Gallipoli and then turned around and joined the Second World War. So, and it just so happens that particular Slorish family, their farm was right behind the farm that I occupy now. So I was able to relate to those boys' families that exist today. With David, I went along to the Back to Waterloo Day and caught up with some of Jan's forebears. Jan's mother was born in Waterloo, so it was an opportunity late in the day, as sad as it was, that she caught up with somebody that knew the Harry Smith family, and yeah, they had a great old yarn. She was from Ferntree Gully, that particular lady, and she was keen to yarn, so it was amazing. There were another couple that sat with us earlier that had come from Adelaide, but they actually live in Cairns. So they'd done a fair old hike to get back to Waterloo. They'd driven from the night before to get there. Ron and I attended a football match at Natty Alec at the request of the president and secretary there, looking for some funding to assist in upgrading their netball courts, and they would greatly appreciate any assistance they can get from council. And last but not least, I had the good fortune of going to Amphitheatre to the CFA recognition awards that they held last Sunday, actually, and they recognised members that had served from 5 years to 65 years. So they had a large range of badges and whatnot presented. It was a wonderful get together. So that's my lot for this last month and a little bit. With that, we'll ask for the closure of the meeting to the members of the public pursuant to the provisions of section 4.1.1 of Council's Governance Rules and section 66 of the Local Government Act. The meeting will be closed to the public in order to consider confidential items. But prior to doing that, I should ask for a motion that the councillors' reports be received. Councillor Easton, Councillor Keogh seconded. All in favour? That's carried. Now we go back to the confidential items. Move from Councillor Keogh, seconded Councillor Easton, that we go into closed council. Thank the public.
Thank you, councillors.
For your attendance. Lovely to see you, Christine. Chris.